Jack slid into the worn leather seat of his yellow cab as dusk settled over the city. At 28, he'd been driving these streets for 5 years, his knuckles white from gripping the wheel during rush hour. Each night he joked with himself, as he reviewed his dwindling bank balance aloud. "Well, Jack, at least there's still zero in both columns." He tapped the meter and sighed, pushing away the worry that lay heavier than any fare meter. The neon signs flickered, and Jack steered into the deepening cold, bracing himself for another long night of back-to-back pickups and feeble tips. Around midnight, Jack idled on an empty street corner, heater humming, radio low. He sipped lukewarm coffee from a styrofoam cup when movement caught his eye. A young woman struggled with a toddler, her breath visible in the frosty air. Her coat was thin, her expression tight with desperation. Instinct and sympathy took over. Jack killed the engine and opened the door. "Need a lift?" he asked. The woman paused, startled, then nodded. Jack's heart squeezed as she ushered the child into the back seat, and he closed the door gently, not minding the cold that bit at his fingertips. As they pulled away, Jack glanced at the rearview mirror to catch her eye. "Don't worry about the fare," he said softly. "It's on me tonight." Emily inhaled sharply, clutching her child's coat. "Are you sure?" she whispered. Jack gave a rough chuckle. "I've got an empty bank account to match your dinner tray," he joked, voice warm though tired. Emily managed a faint smile, and for a moment the cab's cramped interior felt like a refuge from winter's bite. Jack steered toward the lit windows of a nearby shelter, determined to help however he could. The city streets blurred past, flickering lampposts, shuttered shops, steaming manholes. Emily rested her cheek against the cold glass, the child curled against her side. Jack drove without idle conversation, letting the hum of tires and distant traffic fill the silence. When they arrived, Emily hesitated, then opened the door. Jack stayed seated, offering a reassuring nod. She handed him a crumpled card. "Thank you," she whispered. He waved it away. "Take care of you both," he said, already watching them disappear into the shelter's warm glow. Jack nearly fell asleep at the wheel returning to base. When he finally collapsed onto his couch at dawn, the phone rang. He groaned, intent on ignoring it, then answered. "Jack Parker?" said a measured male voice. "This is Mr. Carter." Jack blinked awake. The voice continued. "You drove my niece and her son last night. Your kindness saved them in a dark moment. I owe you my deepest thanks." Jack rubbed his eyes. I just did what I could." Mr. Carter's tone held gratitude and something more, respect. Mr. Carter explained that Emily came from wealth, but fled her mansion after losing her husband. She had chosen anonymity to protect her child and herself from pity and gossip. The night's gift had reminded her of better days. "Please let me repay you," Mr. Carter insisted. Jack pressed a hand to his chest. "No repayment needed," he replied. Yet Mr. Carter's sincerity and Emily's quiet strength lingered in Jack's mind as he hung up the phone, a new hope sparking in his chest. By noon, Jack's radio crackled with a message to report to Carter Manor. He blinked in disbelief. Dressed in his best shirt, he drove the familiar cab to an enormous iron gate he'd long admired from afar. A uniformed attendant guided him through manicured lawns to a grand entrance. Jack's worn shoes echoed on marble floors lined with velvet rugs. He found Mr. Carter waiting, arms wide and welcome. Jack's pulse thundered. He'd never imagined stepping beyond cab doors into such splendor. In a sunlit drawing room, Emily appeared, her eyes bright with relief. Behind her stood Mr. Carter and other relatives, all beaming. "Jack," Emily said, stepping forward. "We want to thank you properly." She handed him a thick envelope. "Everything is in here." Jack opened it to find debt statements marked, "Paid in full." Tears stung his eyes. "How can I ever thank you?" he whispered. Emily reached out and squeezed his hand. "By living well." Mr. Carter cleared his throat. "Jack, we'd like to offer you a position at our company, a stable salary, benefits, growth opportunities. No more late-night fares for empty pockets." Jack's voice caught. "I'm honored, sir, but I've only driven cabs." Mr. Carter smiled. "Your character matters more than your resume. Come join us Monday." Jack nodded, stunned by the kindness and chance before him. The following Monday, Jack arrived at Carter Industries in a crisp shirt and polished shoes, a world away from his taxi uniform. His new office overlooked the city he once knew only from headlights. Emily waved from a corner office, her son's laugh echoing through the halls. Jack's colleagues greeted him with warmth. As he settled into his desk, Jack whispered to himself, "I guess zero in the bank can't hold you back forever." Over the weeks, Jack proved himself punctual, creative, caring, and earned respect from his team. Emily visited often, bringing coffee and noting Jack's jokes about his old empty account. They laughed about the past, sharing stories over lunch in the company cafe. Jack's heart lightened at her presence. Her son's giggles reminded him of what family felt like. In offering help, Emily's family had given Jack far more than money. They gave him belonging. One afternoon, Mr. Carter invited Jack to his office again. He presented Jack with stock options, true ownership in the company. "Your compassion has become part of our culture," he said. Jack felt the magnitude of this gift. His future was secure, his efforts valued. He realized that his simple act of free ride had set in motion a chain of generosity reaching far beyond that cold night. That evening, Jack walked home through the quiet streets, reminiscing. He passed the corner where he'd met Emily and her child, noticing that the street lamp still flickered the same comforting glow. He paused, closed his eyes, and whispered, "A quiet thanks to the universe for the chance to show kindness, and for kindness returned tenfold." On his days off, Jack volunteered at the very shelter where he'd dropped off Emily and her child. He helped serve meals and handed out warm coats, sharing stories of his turnaround. The volunteers listened, inspired by how one simple act could change lives. Jack realized his journey had come full circle. Once the giver of hope, now the living proof that compassion creates miracles. That night, Jack sat at his modest kitchen table, flicking through photos on his phone. Him behind the wheel in his old cab, Emily and her son laughing, the Carter family at a company gala. He tapped out a journal entry. "Kindness costs little, but yields everything. One ride on a cold night taught me more about life and love than any paycheck ever could." He closed the notebook with a contented sigh, ready to face tomorrow with a heart full of gratitude. Jack's story reminds us, we never know how deeply our small acts of compassion can ripple through others' lives and back into our own. When we give without counting the cost, life has a way of returning the gift tenfold.